So if we draw out our first 8 perfect squares, we're going to start with our perfect square of 1. There's our 1 by 1. We have 2 by 2, which is perfect square of 4. We can have 3 by 3, which is our perfect square of 9. We can have our 4 by 4. Okay, that gives us a perfect square of 16. Our 5 by 5 gives us a perfect square of 25. Okay, we can have 6 by 6. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 by 6. That's going to give us 36. 7 by 7. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 by 7 is going to give us 49. 8 by 8 gives us an area of 64. Okay, we can do 9 by 9. Am I going to fit 9 in here? 3, 6, no. We'll do 9 by 9 over here. 6, 9. So 9 by 9 square. Okay, so that's a 9 by 9 square here. And we can count up 81 squares here. We can go 10 by 10, 11 by 11. Okay, those are our perfect squares. And again, they're perfect squares because they give us square shapes. So square areas are going to be 1 centimeter squared for side length of 1 centimeter. For 4 centimeters squared, we have side length of 2 centimeters. And be careful of your units. When we have squares, we're counting square area, so we have to count squares. So our units are centimeters squared. So 3 by 3 square is a 9 centimeter square. Okay, and we have a 3 by 3. Okay, 4 centimeters by 4 centimeters is going to give us 16 squares. So we have to write our units as centimeters squared. 25 squares comes from side length of 5 by 5. 36 squares come from 6 by 6. 7 by 7 centimeters gives us 49 squares. Okay, and then 64 squares comes from 8 by 8. Okay, so it's important to understand that how do we go from one to the other? Well, we can just look at the picture and do that, but in our picture is the square. So when we talk about squaring things, we're going to make a square shape. But we could also undo squares. So if I have a square, 81 squares like this, arranged in a square shape, we know that there is a side length of 9. Okay? And to go from one to the other, we can square to go from side length to squares. But if we want to go from squares to side length, we do the opposite of squaring, which is square root. So we have square area and we have side length. Okay? If we want to go this way, we're squaring. Okay? That's squaring things going in this direction. If we want to go in the opposite direction, if we want to go in this direction, we need to do the inverse, which is going to be square root. Okay, so when we talk about squaring something, we're actually going to make a square. When we're talking about square rooting something, we're taking a square area and finding side length. Okay, and so when we talk about our model for squaring and square rooting, it's side length and area. Going in this direction, we square. Going in this direction, we square root. So the input for the square root should be area. So it looks like this. 64 squares square rooted equals a side length of 8 centimeters. My inside is area. My output is side length. Okay, and it's important to make sure you have this clearly in mind. This will be on your test. Okay, to understand going from one to the other and be able to express the input and output quantities when we do squares and square roots.